Zechariah 14:6. In that day there will be no light, the luminaries will dwindle, for it will be a unique day which is known to Yahweh, neither day nor night, but it will come about that at evening time there will be light. And in that day living waters will flood out of Jerusalem, half of them toward the eastern sea and the other half toward the western sea. It will be in summer as well as in winter. And Yahweh, and this was the text. So so the context here seems, there's a lot in Zechariah and Zephaniah that a lot of New Testament scholars see as background imagery and teaching for New Testament books. And clearly, when you have Ezekiel and his vision of the temple, and now here, the living waters going out of Jerusalem, yeah, these are themes that are picked up a lot in the New Testament and expanded upon there. So there's the background. The living waters will flood out of Jerusalem. Jesus describes himself, living waters flowing up within the person. I mean, clearly, there are fulfillment themes and connections there. But it's verse 9 that was in focus. And Yahweh will be king over all the earth. In that day, Yahweh will be the only one, and his name the only one. Now, what was interesting is, I saw Andrew post that, and I looked at the text, and, the first thing catches your mind, Yahweh will be king over all the earth. And so you have all the Old Testament the prophecy concepts of the knowledge of Yahweh filling the earth and all the rest of it. And a lot of eschatological perspectives put that all off into a far, far distant future. So that I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of evangelicals don't resonate with what's in the minor prophets, is because, well, that's all in the millennium someplace. So I don't really have to worry about it. It's not something that it's not really something I have to think about. But Yahweh will be king over all the earth. Mention this. If you're reading the English and you see Lord, you're probably going, well, why do you say Yahweh? Well, it is interesting. Concordance does this for me here. Notice what it's doing. Since each of these are tagged, then you can see in the English, Lord is in all capitals, but the O and the R and the D are in a smaller font size. That is the English Bible translator's way of telling you that the underlying Hebrew term is right here, and that is Yod-He, Waw-He, Yahweh, which we slaughter in English as Jehovah. Now, if you read Hebrew, you know that that actually has three vowels underneath it, which are the vowels for Adonai. They're put there to warn you, don't pronounce this word, because in a Jewish synagogue, for example, you would create great offense if you were to say Yahweh. Yahweh Lamelech, the king, will be king. You just say Hashem, the name, or Adonai, and you put the vowels there to tell you you're supposed to say Adonai. But it's Yahweh. And you can see over in the Greek Septuagint on the right-hand side that it's kurios, the Greek term for Lord, which then becomes so important in the New Testament. And so Yahweh will be king over all the earth in that day. Now, your standard verb to be, estai in Greek, here in the Hebrew, haya, and Yahweh, preformative king, melech. You've heard of Molech, that's king, that's a form of king. And Yahweh will be king over all haaretz, the earth. Same term used in Genesis 1. And Yahweh will be king over all the earth. Bayom, Yom, day, same again as Genesis 1. There are connections here. In, preformative bet, in that day, and the day that specific day, he will be Yahweh Echad. Now, you may have heard that term before, Echad. You see over in the Greek Septuagint, it's Hais. Hais miahen is one, the ordinal one. And so you can see in the Greek, ente hemera ekaine este koreas hais. In that day, he will be the one Lord, or the one Yahweh. And Echad, of course, is the equivalent to when we talk about the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. And so you have the same term being used here that is in the Shema from Deuteronomy 6, which is the identifying prayer of the monotheistic Jew. Yahweh will be one. And of course, that I just mentioned in passing, don't want to be losing everybody here, but if you're taking notes, you will notice that in 1 Corinthians chapter 8, these same terms appear when Paul gives that what looks like an early creedal formulation from the early church, where he takes the Shema and he expands it out to include Jesus as Yahweh, as Kurios. There's one Kurios. Hais, Kurios, both are used there in 1 Corinthians 8, as well as in the Septuagint translation of the Shema. So, in that day, Yahweh will be Echad, the one. And then literally, in the Septuagint says, Kai ta anima autu hen, and his name one. Now, if you're wondering, you'll notice over here, we have Hais, and I said that meant one. And then it says his name, the only one, is Hen. And sometimes that throws people off. Is this a different word? Does it mean a different thing? And yet, look at the Hebrew. Look at the middle column when I move between the two. You'll notice that the word that it moves between is the same, echad. It's Hais, Mia. Hais is the masculine, Mia the feminine, Hen is the neuter, which goes with ta anima, his name. So it's just simply matching the word that it's modifying there. And so that's why they're both the same. They're just in different forms because name and Kurios is masculine, name is neuter. So they match. So that's just good Greek. But it says, and the name of him one. And you'll notice, look at that. This is interesting. You notice that, and they did a good job here. I'm impressed. It doesn't always work this well. And notice that it has the name, and you'll notice it marks 4 words in the Greek Septuagint. And the name of him, and his name. So if it was really consistent over on the English, it would be his name is marked here, but it's probably just going with the Hebrew as the primary linking text here as the original text. But in Hebrew, you only have 2 words. His name, Echad, one. And so we have to fill in the meaning or provide other words. And so you'll see in some translations there will be italics used to indicate the added words or something like that. Because in English, we just don't say, and his name one. And in that day, he will be Yahweh one, Kurios Hais, and his name one, Ta'anamanatu Hen. Takes more words in Greek and in English to render the underlying Hebrew, but that's what you have here. And so, what does all that mean? It is seemingly an assertion, not, I think probably what caught Andrew's attention initially was the assertion that Yahweh will be king over all the earth. There will be a recognition of his rulership. And all forms of eschatology affirm that. It's when and how it happens that is different. But all forms of eschatology have to recognize that every knee will bow and every tongue will confess. That is a reality of what we are saying. And because that is a reality of what we are saying, I guess you couldn't have heard that. How'd you hear that? Oh. Because I turned the sound off, so maybe I won't hear it again. Anyway, so that alone would be enough to really give consideration to that it is God's intention that he be known over all the earth, and not simply in the form of rebellion, but in subjugation. Because it's one thing and the Lord will be king over all the earth. What does that mean? It's one thing to say his name will be proclaimed over all the earth. It's another thing that he will function as king over all the earth. Whatever you do with your eschatology, there has to be a fulfillment where Yahweh will be king over all the earth. And in that day, Yahweh Echad. And it's really hard for me to not think that this phrase right here, and I really, honestly, I've been trying to find the color thing. If any of you who work for Accordance listen to the dividing line, help me find the color thing. But Yahweh Echad, that's the end of the Shema. So think about what's being really said here. In that day, Yahweh Echad, the very ending of the Shema that identified all the Jewish people, their confession will be known over all the earth. There will be no more false gods. There will be no more competitors. Yahweh Echad. Only the one true God. No more apologetics. Thanks be. Thanks be. I am not one of those people that goes, well, that'd be a bummer because then I wouldn't get to argue with people anymore. No, not in, that would be wonderful. Yahweh Echad. Yahweh will be the only one. And his name, Echad. So no other names, no other competitors. He will be known. You know, the question really is, do we believe this? And like I said, different eschatologies fit the fulfillment of this at different times. We get to there with different intervening events, judgments, resurrections, all sorts of things. But it has to be a central aspect of any eschatological position that this is going to take place, that this is a reality. And given that you have fulfilled prophecies in these minor prophets, Zechariah, Zephaniah, and things like that, we have every confidence, we have every reason to be confident that the God who brought those prophecies to fulfillment in ancient times, even though hundreds of years later, can continue to do so down to our day as well. And it certainly should be something that we desire, that Yahweh's name that he will be king over all the earth. And how do we know? What's the fulfillment of this? Who is King of Kings and Lord of Lords? Well, it's Jesus. It's Jesus. And so we have fulfillment in the New Testament of these things as well. So it's a beautiful text. If you're looking at memorizing some texts in your downtime, this would be certainly an uplifting one to be memorizing at this particular point in time as we face the difficult days ahead.